Steve here. Hazelnut latte. Gotta love it. Love having my own espresso machine. I've got the Breville Touch, which has the included grinder espresso maker thing. And since coming to Korea, it's like, yeah, I thought Starbucks was good. No, it's not. There are so many Korean coffee shops here that offer great coffee, great tasting coffee. It just puts Starbucks to shame. So I decided to get my own espresso machine. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. My name is Steve. I'm retired in Korea, and we're going to talk about the doctor strike and cherry blossoms are blooming here in Korea. Now, a little bit of background, you might be saying, well, what are you doing in Korea? Are you military? Are you a contractor? What are you doing over there? Well, it ends up that I was stationed in Korea during my time in the military, and I met my beautiful wife. And with her, it ends up let me see if I can get a picture of her. Anyway, we ended up meeting at a Bible study, and then next thing you know, yeah, we ended up, boom, there she is. That's the wife. That's me and the wife. She is so awesome, and we dated for like a year, and then we ended up getting married, and it's been like, how long has it been? It's been like 34 years we've been together, and we've got a daughter, and our daughter is a doctor, which is awesome. She's incredible. So, yeah, that's what we got going on. So, the wife is awesome, and she's put up with me for all of these years, and apparently I'm a keeper now. It took a long time, but she finally said she's going to keep me. But anyway, what we ended up doing is I retired from the military at 37, well, actually 38 years old after 20 years, and then did some real estate investing, did some other jobs, did some security work, did firearms work, instruction, concealed carry. And then I was working for the state of Colorado as an electronics technician, working in prisons, which was really fun. And then got so tired of it that and looking at the rising expenses in the United States, it was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to retire until I'm in my 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And so the thought of retiring overseas was like, hey, this is possible. And then we found out we could come back to Korea because of my wife's ancestry. And so we sold everything and boom, now we're here. And I mean, sold everything, except for a couple suitcases. So it ends up that being in Korea or living overseas in general, you're going to have some obstacles, some ups and downs, and we have found that here in Korea with a current doctor strike. In case you didn't know, about 10,000 resident doctors have gone on strike at the behest of the KMA, the Korean Medical Association, which is a doctors' union that just gives this Jimmy Hoffa corruption vibe. It's got that going on. Oh, and by the way, it is on the opposite political spectrum of the current administration. And this strike just so happened to occur right around election time. Coincidence? What are the odds? Anyway, yeah, it's really interesting because the majority of doctors work at for-profit hospitals. About 90% of the hospitals in Korea are for-profit. And these doctors that are on strike and the doctors union, they're pretty much all for-profit hospitals. They're saying that they're being overworked. They're saying that the working conditions are bad, the pay, blah, 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 the usual stuff. Now, they're not striking against the hospitals that they work for. The reason that they're striking is because the Korean government said, we want 2,000 more doctors, so we're going to open up 2,000 more medical school slots amongst the 40 medical schools here in Korea to help with the overburden of work that they're experiencing. The residents are working 100, 120 hours a week. They have up to 100 patients a day, seeing each patient for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. It's true that in Korea they have the lowest doctor to patient ratio of the developed world. And yeah, it needs more doctors because we have an aging population here in Korea. 20% of the population is aged, and you need more doctors. And it's unfortunate because people will travel from rural areas to big cities like Seoul to go to the big five hospitals to get medical care and treatments in specialty areas, and it's just not good. So the doctors union decided to go on strike. And these resident doctors who make about $3,000 a month, just, said, "Oh, we're going to go on strike." They turned in their letters of resignation, and it has caused havoc here in Korea. People are not getting surgeries. People are not getting cancer treatments. People are dying because these resident doctors stepped out. And it's funny how the Korean Doctors Union, the KMA, the senior doctors that are in charge of all that and part of that group, they're still working. But it's the resident doctors, they told the resident doctors to go on strike, and they're not working. They're not getting their bills paid. They're not paying their student loans back, and there's a possibility of them losing their licenses. So there's this big, it's almost like a poker game where the doctors union is saying, "Oh, we're going to go on strike. We don't need more doctors." That's the whole reason why they're striking. Not striking against the hospital, but striking against the government's thing of saying we want 2,000 more doctors because of our aging population. Of course, the KMA says, no, no, that's unacceptable. 2,000 more doctors won't help. Matter of fact, the spokespeople for the KMA has said 2,000 more doctors will destroy the medical system. And I'm thinking, wait a second, how can 2,000 more doctors destroy the medical system when they go through pre-med, they go through medical school, and they go through residency and board certifications the same as you? It's same. How they claim it's going to result in decreased care for the patient. They claim it's going to decrease the amount of pay of current doctors. Wait a second, that's a deal that you need to talk about with the for-profit hospitals that you work at, not for the government. And, by the way, the government, out of those 2,000 doctors, 80% of them are supposed to be assigned to rural areas to help the Korean people as a whole, because the majority of people don't live in Seoul. So instead of traveling, 1, 2, 3 hours to get to, big appointments, they want to put more doctors in rural areas, raise their pay and whatever, to answer the call, the need for doctors in rural areas. Of course, KMA doesn't like any of that. Of course, they don't offer any solutions. So, it's interesting. The Korean government is talking about suspending licenses, which they've suspended the license of some senior doctors who are head of the union. They haven't issued any suspensions for resident doctors as of yet, which is interesting. Right now, as it stands, the resident doctors have had so much time out of doing their residency that they will have to redo that year of residency as it stands right now. Unfortunately, the fallout from this is that student loans aren't being paid back because resident doctors aren't working and not getting paid. They can't pay their bills. They can't pay their rent. They can't buy food or whatever. Because a lot of people are just spend money and don't really save money here in Korea, unfortunately. And so these resident doctors who are not working are trying to get side gigs to, pay rent, buy food, and all that stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of Korean people, about 86% of the Korean people, don't agree with the Korean Doctors Union. They agree with the government that we need more doctors and to help out rural areas and so on and so forth. Nobody's hiring these people. So, wow. Another little recap. The Doctors Union has their tentacles into the medical schools, and up to 46% of the medical school students stop going to school, which is at an impasse because, wait a second, if you don't go to medical school, and of course now you have student loans, if you quit going to medical school, there's mandatory military service in Korea, 18 months or 24 months or whatever, 18 to 24 months. And so if you don't go to school, you got to be in the Army now. So that's coming up. And you throw on the election and the political stuff going back and forth. It's just kind of crazy on what we end up seeing. What we're going to end up talking about here is let's take a look at the current, and there is, again, overlays. How come the picture of me is gone? I don't have a camera of me. Let's add. Oh, there's a camera of me. Okay. So we're going to take a look at what we see here. And in this article that talks about South Korea's Yoon, who is the president right now, ends up talking about hints at flexibility in the doctor strike as the election looms. And yeah, the plan, chiefly aimed at 2,000 from 3,000 starting in 2025, is the key issue during the election. So it's all political. The drawn-out walkout by thousands of training doctors nationwide is putting strains on the country's healthcare system. Now, the fact that they have the lowest doctor-to-patient ratio in the developed world before the strike, now we're operating at third world level medical levels. Yeah, it's it is absolutely crazy. Medical school professors and community doctors cut their working hours this week and threaten to resign en masse unless the government negotiates, which the Korean Doctors Union says they will not negotiate on adding any more doctors. Some interesting things. They said that the Korean doctors, it will create too much competition in the workspace. It will affect their pay. As well, you get paid by a for-profit hospital, so your beef isn't with the government; it should be with the for-profit hospital. For-profit hospitals have been strangely quiet, despite losing lots of money. And then my favorite is it will lessen the prestige of the title of doctor, because if you hire more doctors, that will lower the prestige, and that's just unacceptable. They actually said this in an interview. It is absolutely insane. And then other reasons they came up with later on is, there's not enough cadavers to train the resident doctors, the 2,000 more resident doctors, 2,000 more medical school students. It's just too many. And it's like there's 40 medical schools in Korea. You're telling me you can't divide 2,000 by 40 and accommodate those extra students? There's 100 teaching hospitals. You're saying that when you do the math, 2,000 divided by 100 and however many departments are in a hospital, maybe you will get one or two extra doctors per department. You're telling me that one or two doctors extra per department will destroy the medical system? That's what they've been quoted as saying. It is absolutely insane. It makes no sense whatsoever. Yoon, for the first time, signaled possibility of adjusting reform in a 50-minute public address, saying his administration is open to talks with doctors if they offer reasonable and unified alternative proposal. That is the problem. Yoon denied considering political gains and losses in pushing any reform. Now, the interesting thing about the doctors' union is they just yap, and they offer no solutions. Like with the overwork that they have. They work over 100, 120 hours a week. They'll see a patient for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. They'll see up to 100 patients per day. They'll work 36-hour shifts as opposed to what we see in America with residents working 24-hour shifts with less hours. And they say, no, more doctors won't help. And they don't offer any solution. It'd be one thing if they said, okay, well, here's what we need to do. We need to change how we do things here in Korea in regards to medical, so that way it would make it more efficient and more effective to treat people. But they don't say that. They offer no solution. So all they do is just yap. I have yet to hear, and my wife has yet to hear, any plausible solution. It's just, we don't need more doctors. Yeah, we do. 20% of the population is getting older and older and needs more medical care. There are very little rural doctors, and the government wants 80% of those 2,000 to go towards rural areas. And the KMA says, no, that's not right. We don't want that. So how do you expect people in rural areas? You want all of these people to just jump on taxis, buses, and trains and travel for a few hours just to get to their medical appointments at the 5 big major hospitals, for-profit hospitals? Sounds like the KMA has got their own little agenda going on. What are the odds? So senior president official says Yoon is meant to express his willingness to be flexible in implementing the policy regardless of the elections. Anyway, it ends up, you've got this political thing going on, and unfortunately, the Korean people are the ones that are paying the price. Korean people, everyday working people, and people like me who live here and retired here, are not getting medical treatment. They're not getting cancer surgeries. They're not getting chemotherapy. We've already had a lot of reports of people dying because the hospitals can't take people in because they don't have doctors to treat patients. Anyway, it's interesting. A poll published Monday by Research and Research showed 86% of respondents still support increased medical school admissions, but more than 57% were dissatisfied with the government's handling of the walkout. This is very kind of problematic in the fact that what do you do? For the last 27 years, the KMA has rejected all increases of any type of doctors for the last 27 years. Interesting. So, of course, there's people that the Koreans, that are the 57%, there's many Koreans who end up saying you should just fire the doctors, suspend their licenses for life so they can never practice medicine because they're going against their Hippocratic Oath. Hippocratic Oath, what are the odds? It's very problematic. And continue on, and let me see, what was another one we have here? Government says med school quota hike can change with reasonable grounds, which isn't, excuse me, hope I don't need to go to a doctor. They're open for change for better if more reasonable grounds are provided. Actually, it ends up if they provide some workable solutions, but the KMA hasn't been able to do that. So then the KMA says, no, that's just not going to work, and it will ruin the healthcare system. This continues on. On the same day, the country's largest doctors group, the Korean Medical Association, welcomed President Yoon Suk-yeol's invitation to junior doctors in direct and in-person dialogue, which they added was an idea proposed by the organization last week. Again, this is all a chess game. This is a political, we're going to throw something out. Are you going to call our bluff? Or you're going to, we're going to do this. If you don't do this, it's all this going back and forth. And it ends up that the Korean court is clearing a path for the government to roll out 2,000-seat expansion plan. And the KMA doesn't want it. Amid the ceaseless medical void, the government let public health centers provide telemedicine services starting Wednesday. The government has also taken military doctors and put them into these civilian hospitals to treat the Korean people. And again, we're getting to a place of where it's third world country doctor-patient ratios is what we're experiencing here in Korea now during this strike. A total of 246 public health centers and 1341 branches will offer telemedicine services, which is really interesting because back in 2014, the government wanted to have telemedicine to help rural people get medical service and so on and so forth, and the KMA rejected that. I really just don't get the KMA. If you're not getting paid enough, then yes, those things should be addressed to the for-profit hospitals in which you work for. Now, the KMA is also highly influential on how the medical system operates here in Korea. And I've talked about this in the past. They're so overburdened because of too many appointments, and part of the reason of so many appointments is that every single month, if you need to get a refill on medication, you have to make an appointment with that service provider, and you only get a 30-day supply. It's not like the United States where I get a bottle of pills and it ends up, okay, well, here it is. I get, 90 days worth of medication for like stomach or mental health or back pain or whatever, inflammation, whatever the 5 different medications that I take. And then down at the bottom of the bottle, I can call in and get 3 more refills So yeah, it's everyday medication. It's stuff that I will be taking the rest of my life. So I can call and get those refills. I go pick them up at the pharmacy. I'm good to go. Here in Korea, it's not like that. So if I have back pain, if I have mental health, if I have my stomach issues, if I have this issue and that issue, I have to see those 5 different specialist doctors. I have to have 5 different appointments to see that doctor to get the refill for 30 days, and it's only good for 30 days. So every month I have to go back and get more medications. Do you think that might have something to do with the overwork that they're experiencing in the hospitals and the medical community? Why would that be? Why would for-profit hospitals want people to make appointments with every single provider because they don't have GPs here and have refills every single month of the year? Oh yeah, it's because they're for-profit. Imagine that. I'm just saying. There are some things that could be improved upon in the current medical system. Now, with that being said, I have a disclaimer that Korean medical care is some of the best medical care that I have gotten. I've run into one doctor. One doctor was having a bad day and he kind of gave me some attitude, and my wife some attitude. Clearly, he just didn't want to be there, woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But aside from that one person, everybody else has been great. They've been professional. They don't have attitudes. They don't roll your eyes, when you show up, as you experience in America. The hospitals are clean and neat. You get quality care. It's seen quickly. If something happens in the United States and I see a doctor and his test results, you have to wait a month and come back, or a week or so. There's tests that I've gotten the same day where they called back and said, hey, you need to come in here because we got the test results and so on and so forth. And fit me in to get me seen. So, there's a lot of good things that we've experienced, but there's some things that definitely need help. But with that said, it's interesting on what is going on. So, for example, the president says of Korea, Yoon, he says that he wants to talk to these people and do a little meeting with them. But it's interesting, on the junior doctors representative body nailed down its uncompromising stance, saying it will stick to the original demand to scrap the quota expansion plan and improve their labor conditions. Again, this is quite interesting because anything that says they don't even want one more doctor. Not one more medical school student to become a doctor. That has totally been rejected by the KMA. And they've rejected all increased quotas for doctors for the last 27 years. And we're at a breaking point here in Korea. And so, that is the one thing that they say is they will not compromise on. They will not take any new doctors. I just don't understand it. The group says it will not, its members will not return to their hospitals if the government does not accede to their original demand. So in other words, they don't want any more doctors. It doesn't matter what the government says. And they don't offer any solutions to the overwork. They don't, which is just it's just, if you can complain and you can, air your grievances, but you need to come with a solution to the problems at hand. And if you don't offer any workable solutions, you're just yelling rhetoric and it means nothing. It's just absolutely crazy. After the meeting, Yoon Park said there is no future in Korean medical sector. The president's office, for its part, denied that it hinted the possibility of downsizing admission quotas from 2,000 to 600. Hospitals suffering the absence of doctors to add seats in medical schools are struggling and increasing debt and operational losses. This is the huge part, because it's been so strange that 90% of the hospitals are for profit, and they've just been sitting back going, we're just going to be over here, just kind of wait, maybe this will, Asan Medical Center, one of the country's five largest hospitals suffering from a snowballing deficit of 53 or 51 billion won, which is about $37.8 million. Of net losses amounting to some 51 billion won, government support only covered 1.7 billion, the head of the hospital said. Chungbuk National University Hospital said it expects to see 9 billion decrease in monthly revenue starting this month. The hospital entered a phase of emergency business management. And so are all these other hospitals. There was another hospital that was experiencing, I think it was Asan, it was either Asan or Seoul National Hospital or something like that, that say they were losing $800,000 a day because these doctors aren't showing up to work. And the hospitals aren't pressuring the doctors to come back to work because they're on the political side that is opposite of the current administration, and so they kind of side, but they're sitting back and just kind of, okay, we'll let the government and the KMA and the doctors union fight on their own, but they're starting to lose a lot of money. Emergency Committee of Medical Professors at Chungbuk University said the hospital's outpatient medical appointments will be reduced by 75%. It is, but they expect a slash in revenue. Yes, that's what they're going to experience. So yeah, it ends up it's going to be absolutely crazy with this strike as it continues on. And in April is re-election month. So how much longer is this going to go? We really don't know. Again, you've got 10,000 resident doctors that are on strike that refuse to go to work, to turn in their letters of resignation to the for-profit hospitals, which the for-profit hospitals have just kept and have not processed, all because the Korean government wants to open up and have 2,000 more doctors, which would, in the grand scheme of things, would be like maybe 1 or 2 doctors per department in the 100 teaching hospitals. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. Yeah. And the whole thing is, I've had people contact me, send me messages and say, it ends up that, you can't force people to work. Actually, the Hippocratic Oath, if you read the oath, it says put the patient first. And Korean doctors, resident doctors, are not doing that. And I also find it very hypocritical that the senior doctors of the KMA, the doctors union, are reducing their hours, but they're not going on 100% strike like the resident doctors. So if these resident doctors get fired and some have quit and so on and so forth, do you think the KMA is going to pay for their student loans? Absolutely not. Are they going to pay their mortgage, their rent, their food? No, of course not. They don't do all that. So I really don't understand how the mentality of the resident doctors in their thinking process for long term. If you lose your job because you striked against an increase in doctors of just 2,000 doctors, and you lose your job and you're still on the hook for your medical school bills, your student loans, how does that help anybody? And like I said, it's going to be really interesting if you have resident doctors who in their immediate or extended family, somebody died because they couldn't get the medical care because of the doctor strike. What do you think it's going to be like at dinner around the holidays? Yeah, it's going to be really freaking awkward. And like I said, many doctors these resident doctors who are on strike can't pay their bills, and they're like, crap, I ran out of money. I need to get a job. So they're looking for side gigs, and nobody's hiring these people, because the majority of the public are like, yeah, what you're doing is wrong, especially when you offer no workable solutions. That's the strangest thing that I see, is that the KMA isn't saying, well, we need to redo the prescription services and have it like they do in the United States and other countries to alleviate some of this overburden. Maybe we need to have GPs to, do refills at least, with telemedicine or whatever. No, they reject anything, and they offer no workable solutions. The only thing we hear from the KMA, from what I can see in the English and, of course, the Korean websites that are translated into English, They offer zero solutions. My wife is a Korean. She knows Korean, speaks Korean, reads Korean, the whole 9 yards. And when she watches the news, when we watch the news, they still don't offer any solutions. So it's just like, no new doctors, no new doctors, no new doctors. It will destroy the medical system. It will result in poor care for Korean people if we have more doctors. And it's like, and they never explain how. And the media never asks these questions. Well, how would it destroy the medical system? How would it result in less care or worse care? They never explain these things. So that's what we got going on. Really interesting. So other than that, it's still up in the air, and the Korean people are paying the price, and the people who live in Korea are having problems getting appointments, and people aren't getting cancer treatments, and people are dying, and unfortunately, that just seems to be the mantra of the KMA. When no one asks like, well, how do you feel about the Korean people who are dying because they can't get care because of the strike? Nobody asks those questions. The media does not ask those questions to these KMA spokespeople or the leaders of the KMA. So, with that being said, it is really, really crazy on what's going on. I think they need to redo their prescription model, kind of similar to have it in the U.S., where you get a 90-day prescription, and then you can call in for up to 3 refills, depending on the medication. Obviously, you're not going to do that for everything. There's going to be some medications where you're going to have to be monitored every month, and I totally agree with that. But just to have a blanket, you have to make an appointment with every single provider to get your refills. That's 5 different copays. Every month you have to make an appointment and see those 5 different doctors. In a country that has 52 million people, let's say, I don't know, 5 million people have to get refills every single month. I'm not sure, but just throw that number out there. You have 5 million people going to hospitals every single month getting different appointments just to get refills. Yeah, tell me that isn't a money-making ploy. Yeah, that needs to be revamped. So anyway, cherry blossoms. Yeah, cherry blossoms. That's what we got going on. As you can see here, we got a nice, cool little picture. That's a picture from our apartment showing the cherry blossom trees, as you see there. And it's really a beautiful time of year here in Korea. So I thought we'd... And more. Oh, yeah. So yeah, you just see that. It's just, that's our apartment complex.
Well, I can smell it.
And a ton.
You're sick and can't smell it. That's messed up.
A ton. My wife's a little under the weather, so she can't smell the cherry blossoms.
Yeah.
But that's just a short walk. There's a whole other walkway that is just lined with cherry
I
blossoms.
love this apartment building.
Yeah, it is just awesome.
So we've got our own little cherry blossom festival.
And even all around Korea,
Amazing.
in the town that we live in,
So yeah, isn't that cool or what?
I mean, it's just beautiful.
Love it.
And even outside of the apartment complex.
Alrighty, so we have cherry blossoms.
So yeah, there's back in the apartment complex. There's more.
So
Yeah, and you can just see it's just,
with the lights at night, just amazing.
it looks pretty cool.
And the smell is incredible.
Yeah, it is just really something.
Perfect perfume.
And it doesn't last for long, unfortunately. Maybe a week or 2 weeks, and then all of these blossoms will fade and fall. And yeah. So yeah, it's just yeah, the smell is incredible. So anyway, we've got that going on, and let's see if we can pull up another one. No, not that. What do we want? We want, I wonder if I could do it this way. See if I can find another one outside. Let's see if we can get this in here. Oh, that's just that. That's just the picture there. Da, 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 da. A group, camera overlay, shape, animated, screen shared. No, no, no. New camera overlay. No, I don't want that. How did I do that last time? I don't get it. Oh, here it is. So let's choose a file. And we have to go to Photos. And we'll show you that one there. Of course, it's got to download. But yeah, the cherry blossoms here in Korea are incredible. And it is just an awesome, awesome time here in Korea. And we're waiting for download from the cloud. But if you get a chance to visit Korea, the two best times is spring and fall. Summer is really, really hot and humid. It's probably the worst time in Korea is the summer, at the peak of the summer where the temperatures are high, humidity's high, and you sweat. And my second least favorite would be winter, but considering we don't spend a lot of time outside, we travel somewhere, go somewhere, it's in a car or train or whatever, it's not that bad. We have covered underground parking, so, it's just not something we deal with. And here's outside. This is close to Camp Humphreys, going from the walk-in gate and just walking down the street. And you can just see the cherry blossoms. They just line this road all the way towards our apartment pretty much. Just pretty incredible. And again, just look at that. It's crazy beautiful. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Yeah, cherry blossoms here in Korea are absolutely awesome. And again, the smell that you get from the cherry blossoms is insane. And I really wish it lasted longer than a week or 2 weeks. But the other cool thing is that when the cherry blossoms, they'll bloom. And then after they bloom, the petals start to fall off. So you will get a breeze, and then it looks like snow. And then the smell is at its peak. Cherry blossoms is just really, really incredible. So, there's that. So anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff after that walk. What we ended up doing is going and getting, you can see there, we ended up going to Pascucci and getting a couple lattes, and that was really good. There's another picture there. Yeah, the pastries, the whole 9 yards. It was just a really great time. So yeah, we do a lot of walking, and being retired over here in Korea, just kind of amazing what we end up seeing. But yeah, those are the things going on right now. So we're trying to stay healthy and not see doctors. People have asked me, well, what happens if you get sick? Well, the wife has ended up getting sick, and they do have smaller clinics. So you will have, like we go to a smaller clinic here, it's not covered by our TRICARE. I mean, we could file against TRICARE and do that, but the prices are so low, it's I don't know, the hassle of the TRICARE and trying to get reimbursed 1 or 2 months later, I don't know, it's easier just to pay. So anyway, there are doctors that have their own clinics, and so if you have the flu or this or that, they can issue you medication. So kind of like an urgent care clinic, but not as expensive like in the U.S., that's for sure. So there's that, and there are hospitals in Korea that are not teaching hospitals that are not affected by this strike. The problem is that a lot of these hospitals don't have specialty clinics to deal with major issues. So, but we are seeing more patients going to these other hospitals that are not teaching hospitals because people are not getting the care at the big hospitals where the strikes are occurring. So again, people are traveling and being inconvenienced and and it's starting to overload the system of what we're seeing. And again, we're operating at third world level doctor to patient ratios because of the strike. So yeah, that's what we got going on. It's interesting. Yeah, I just don't get it, especially when you say we don't need more doctors, but you have a continuing aging population. There's one of the populations of the world where the aging population is getting to a point of where it's so big it's notable, kind of like Japan. And for any doctors organization or the doctors union to totally ignore the need for more doctors just astounds me. And here's another thing: there's a reason that the KMA said no, we don't need more doctors, is because the birth rate in Korea is so low, so we don't need more doctors. But they never address the concerns of saying 20% of your population is aging, and as they age, they need more medical attention. And this has been proven all around the world. They never talk about that. So it's kind of like they stick their heads in the sand and they don't talk about anything that confronts their narrative, their agenda. In other words, they have confirmational bias. They will only use information that supports their rhetoric of, we don't want any more doctors. Which, we don't need more doctors. We have a low birth rate here in Korea. That's not the only reason you need doctors. Actually, you need more doctors as you become an adult, and you definitely need more doctors as you become a senior and older. It's just the nature of the beast. So the fact that these people are blowing it off, and it's just very, very problematic. So anyway, that's what we got going on. That's the update here in Korea. Go out and smell the flowers sometime. It's very preferable listening to the political rhetoric and the infighting that we see during election time. So hopefully the key will be that things will get sorted out by the end of the month. The elections will be over. Doctors will return. But the medical school students that went on strike as well, they're being faced with their mandatory military service. That's going to come up. But it's everything kind of in this holding pattern. And unfortunately, the Korean people are being bent over because of it. And it's very sad to see how a doctor's organization will withhold care and go against the Hippocratic Oath because they don't want more doctors. And again, it's just absolutely insane on how they say, we're so overworked, but we're not going to offer you any solutions. But the one solution that we know that will not alleviate the overburden is more doctors. It makes no sense. Okay, so anyway, that's it. That's the update. Nothing, I haven't been posting these because nothing really has changed aside from people not getting treated, which is a shame in and of itself. So put what you think in the comment section down below. Love to hear it. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Peace.